Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the September 14th, 2020 legislative session of the Salisbury City Council. I'd like to call the meeting to order, and I'd like to please have you join me in a moment of silent meditation or prayer. Thank you. Ms. Glanz, I understand we have a couple of proclamations this evening.
We do. Two really exciting proclamations. The first is a proclamation for Welcoming Week, and I'll explain a little bit more after I read this. So whereas the City of Salisbury invites all residents to join in alongside communities across the nation in celebrating National Welcome Week as we reach across the lines of difference to build stronger relationships in neighborhoods. And whereas Welcoming America, a nonpartisan nonprofit launched in 2009, has propelled the growing movement across the United States, where now 1 in 8 Americans live in a welcoming community. And this year's theme is Creating Home Together, where home is a place of safety, acceptance, and equality. And the City of Salisbury is committed to recognizing the dignity of all people and reaffirming commitments to diversity, inclusivity, and tolerance. And the City of Salisbury ensures the acceptance of all who live, work, and attend school here, regardless of national origin, race, religion, sexual orientation, or gender identity, social economic status, or political opinion. And we continue as a community towards our shared goals and values that all people deserve the basic principles of equity and human rights guaranteed in the Constitution, and embracing the idea of diversity inherently enhances the City of Salisbury's cultural, social, and economic fabric, thus promoting a better quality of life for both current and future generations. Now, therefore, I, Julia Glanz, City Administrator of the City of Salisbury, do hereby proclaim the week of September 12th, 2020 as Welcoming Week in our city, and recognize the daily contributions made by all neighbors that make Salisbury a place we are proud to call home. We encourage our residents to undertake their own initiatives to make the city a more welcoming place for new, short, and long-term residents alike. So Welcoming America Week is a part of a larger organization, Welcoming America, that we became familiar with last fall. The mayor went to an event in Baltimore City hosted by Welcoming America, and they actually were able to show off Baltimore City's immigration office, which is pretty cool. They've got it's Baltimore City, a huge staff working on immigration issues and inclusivity issues. And so since then, we've been getting lots of materials and webinars and things from Welcoming America. And it's all about making sure people feel included and making sure they get the resources that they need. And they've been critical, especially with COVID, as I've talked about many times, that we've realized how, the gap between those with and without is ever growing, and it's just become more apparent. And I think it's, really great that we sort of started off Welcome Week unintentionally with the National Folk Festival, which just displayed all of the different types of cultures and brought people together virtually this year. So really proud of that. I don't think she's here, but I want to give a shout out to 2 of our interns. One, Gloria, who's a senior graduating at SU this year, who helped draft the proclamation with Diane's help. And then and she's going to be working on Welcoming Week initiatives all year. And then another intern, Johanna, who's going to be with us all year as a social work student. She's really interested in immigration issues and issues that affect the non-English speaking population. So more to come on all of this, and just really excited about the great work.
Great.
So that is number 1. Number 2 is Wicomico Goes Purple. So whereas Wicomico County is going purple to support Wicomico Goes Purple and National Recovery Month, both which focus attention on raising awareness about the dangers of substance misuse. And the National Recovery Month, in addition to raising awareness about substance misuse, also celebrates the gains made by those in recovery, just as improvements made by those managing other health conditions such as hypertension, diabetes, asthma, and heart disease are celebrated. And National Recovery Month also works to promote and support new evidence-based treatment and recovery practices, the emergence of strong and proud recovery community, and the dedication of service providers and community members across the nation who make recovery possible in all of its forms. And Wicomico Goes Purple is an awareness campaign focused on prevention, treatment, and recovery resources available in the surrounding community, which also embraces the important role enforcement agencies play in combating this pandemic. And Wicomico Goes Purple strives to promote conversations about the dangers of substance misuse and abuse, and encourages the surrounding community now more than ever to take a stand against both by getting involved, because overdose and suicides have increased both nationally and locally since the onset of the COVID pandemic. And whereas Wicomico Goes Purple's website logo reflects awareness starts at home, and expands on that theme by inviting the public to join the conversation and the movement to educate our community about the dangers of opioid abuse by going purple in September. Together we can make a difference. And now, therefore, I, Julia Glanz, City Administrator of the City of Salisbury, do hereby proclaim September 2020 as Wicomico Goes Purple Month, and invite our city and citizens to join the city in commending the county's Wicomico Goes Purple initiative plan for September 2020 during the 31st annual observance of National Recovery Month, and further encourage all citizens to visit Wicomico Goes Purple website. It is, I'm helping to judge a window decorating contest downtown. That's one of our contributions to raising awareness. That'll be announced at the third Friday on Friday. And I do just want to highlight that, it's sort of been flying under the radar, but overdoses have been dramatically increasing all across the country. And I think we're seeing that here as well. So shout out to Stephanie Willie and her team, and all the volunteers across the county have been doing great work. It's getting more purpley out there, which is great.
Yes, Stephanie does a great job in the leadership of that in her role, and we thank her for that. Thank you, Ms. Glanz, appreciate it. At this time, I'll call for a motion and a second to adopt the legislative agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Blake and Mrs. Gregory.
Mr. President,
Yes, Mr. Muir.
I'd like to make a motion to remove ordinance number 2614 and ordinance number 2615 from the agenda.
We have a motion to remove ordinance number 2614 and 2615. Do we have a second?
I second.
We have a motion by Mr. Boda and a second by Ms. Jackson. We will vote on the amendment first. All those in favor of the amendment to the motion, please signify by saying aye. Mr. Muir?
Aye.
Ms. Jackson?
Aye.
Ms. Blake?
Aye.
Mrs. Gregory?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. The vote is 5-0. We'll now vote on the amended motion. I'll call the motion now. All those in favor of the motion to adopt the legislative agenda as amended, please signify by saying aye. Mr. Boda?
Aye.
Ms. Jackson?
Aye.
Ms. Blake?
Aye.
Mrs. Gregory?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. The vote is 5-0. The legislative agenda as amended is passed. I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Blake, Mr. Boda. Good evening, Mrs. Nichols.
Good evening. On the consent agenda tonight, we have the April 22nd, 2020 budget work session minutes, the August 17th, 2020 special meeting minutes, August 17th, 2020 work session minutes, August 24th, 2020 legislative session minutes, and resolution number 3061, approving the reappointment of David Herrick to the Parks and Recreation Committee for term ending September 2023. And that's it for the consent agenda.
Thank you, Mrs. Nichols. Any questions or comments? Mr. Boda?
No, and David Herrick, he's a great guy and has been doing a lot of great work on the Parks and Rec Committee for many years.
Thank you. Ms. Jackson?
No.
Ms. Blake?
None.
Mrs. Gregory?
No questions.
Thank you. I'll call the motion now. All those in favor of approval of the consent agenda, please signify by saying aye. Mr. Boda?
Aye.
Ms. Jackson?
Aye.
Ms. Blake?
Aye.
Mrs. Gregory?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. I would also like to thank David for his service, his past service, and his continued service. We appreciate it, David. I'll entertain a motion to approve ordinance number 2616 for the first reading.
So move.
Ms. Jackson?
Second.
Mrs. Gregory? Mr. Tillman?
Thank you. Ordinance number 2616. This is an ordinance of the City of Salisbury to authorize the mayor to enter into a contract with the Bureau of Justice Assistance for the purpose of accepting grant funds in the amount of $78,445 and to approve a budget amendment to the FY 2021 grant fund to appropriate funds for personal protective equipment, PPE purchases, whereas the Bureau of Justice Assistance has a FY20 coronavirus emergency supplemental funding program, and whereas the purpose of the grant program is to provide funding to assist eligible states, local units of government, and tribes in preventing, preparing for, and responding to the coronavirus, and whereas the City of Salisbury submitted a grant application to the BJA for funding to offset expenses related to the purchase of personal protective equipment purchased in response to the COVID-19 crisis. And whereas the BJA has allocated the city funds in the amount of $78,445, and whereas the city must enter into a grant agreement with BJA defining how the funds must be expended, and whereas all funds shall be used to purchase PPE for the Salisbury Police Department and Salisbury Fire Department necessary to appropriately respond to COVID-19 crisis. And whereas Section 7-29 of the Salisbury City Charter prohibits the city from entering into a contract that requires an expenditure not appropriated or authorized by the City Council. And whereas appropriations necessary to execute the purpose of this grant must be made upon the recommendation of the mayor and approval of 4/5 of the council of the City of Salisbury. Now therefore be it ordained by the City Council of the City of Salisbury, Maryland, that Mayor Jacob R. Day is hereby authorized to enter into a grant agreement with the Bureau of Justice Assistance to accept grant funds in the amount of $78,445, and be it further ordained that the city's fiscal year 2021 grant fund budget be and is hereby amended as follows. Increase the DOJ/BJA grant revenue account by $78,445 and increase the SPD medical supplies expense account by $78,445. Be it further ordained that this ordinance shall take effect from and after the date of its final passage.
Thank you, Mr. Tillman. Comments? Mr. Boda?
I'm back. No comments.
Ms. Jackson? I think she just left the room for a second. She was coughing. Ms. Blake?
No comments.
Mrs. Gregory?
No comments.
All right, hearing that there are no questions, I'll call the motion. All those in favor of ordinance number 2616 for the first reading, please signify by saying aye. Mr. Boda?
Aye.
Ms. Jackson?
Aye.
Ms. Blake?
Aye.
Mrs. Gregory?
Aye.
The chair votes aye. The vote is 5-0. Ordinance number 2616 for the first reading is passed. I'll entertain a motion to approve ordinance number 2617 for the first reading.
So move. Second.
Ms. Jackson, Ms. Blake, Mr. Tillman.
This 2617 is an ordinance of the City of Salisbury to authorize the mayor to enter into a contract with the Community Foundation of the Eastern Shore for the purpose of accepting grant funds in the amount of $5,000 and to approve a budget amendment to the FY 2021 grant fund to appropriate funds for offsetting personal protective equipment purchases. Whereas the Community Foundation of the Eastern Shore has a COVID-19 emergency response fund, and whereas the purpose of the grant program is to enable urgent response to evolving community needs as this crisis affects individuals and families, particularly with vulnerable populations in our community. And whereas the City of Salisbury Fire Department submitted a grant application to CFES for the funding to offset expenses related to the purchase of personal protective equipment purchased in response to the COVID-19 crisis. And whereas the CFES has awarded the city funds in the amount of $5,000, and whereas the City of Salisbury must enter into a grant agreement with CFES defining how the funds must be expended, and whereas all funds shall be used to offset funds allocated to purchase PPE necessary to appropriately respond to the COVID-19 crisis, and whereas Section 7-29 of the Salisbury City Charter prohibits the city from entering into a contract that requires an expenditure not appropriated or authorized by the City Council, and whereas appropriations necessary to execute purpose of this grant must be made upon the recommendation of the mayor and approval of 4/5 of the council of the city of Salisbury. Now therefore be it ordained by the city council of the city of Salisbury, Maryland, that Mayor Jacob R. Day is hereby authorized to enter into a grant agreement with the Community Foundation of the Eastern Shore to accept grant funds in the amount of $5,000. Be it further ordained that the city's fiscal year 2021 grant fund budget be and is hereby amended as follows. Increase the FY 21 Community Foundation of the Eastern Shore revenue account by $5,000. Increase the FY 21 SFD medical supplies expense account by $5,000, and be it further ordained that this ordinance shall take effect from and after the date of its final passage.
Thank you, Mr. Tillman. Mr. Bode, questions or comments?
No questions or comments.
Thank you. Ms. Jackson?
No questions or comments.
Thank you. Ms. Blake?
No, none.
Mrs. Gregory?
No.
Thank you. Hearing there are no questions, I'll call the motion. All those in favor of ordinance number 2617 for the first reading, please signify by saying aye. Mr. Bode?
Aye.
Ms. Jackson?
Aye.
Ms. Blake?
Aye.
Mrs. Gregory?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. The vote is 5-0. I'll entertain a motion to approve ordinance number 2618 for the first reading.
So move.
Second.
Ms. Jackson? Ms. Blake? Mr. Tillman?
Thank you. Ordinance number 2618 is an ordinance of the City of Salisbury to authorize the mayor to enter into a contract with the Maryland Community Health Resources Commission for the purpose of accepting grant funds in the amount of $24,799 and to approve a budget amendment to the FY 2021 grant fund to appropriate funds for establishing a telehealth component to the SWIFT program. Whereas the Maryland Community Health Resources Commission, MCHRC, has COVID-19 virus emergency relief funding, and whereas the purpose of the funding is to assist eligible community health resources to respond to the current pandemic, and whereas the City of Salisbury Fire Department submitted a grant application to MCHRC for funding to establish a telehealth component to the SWIFT program for the purpose of providing follow-up care remotely for the COVID-19 patients. And whereas MCHRC has awarded the city funds in the amount of $24,799, and whereas the city must enter into a grant agreement with MCHRC defining how the funds must be expended. And whereas all funds shall be used to establish the aforementioned telehealth component of the SWIFT program, and whereas Section 7-29 of the Salisbury City Charter prohibits the city from entering into a contract that requires an expenditure not appropriated or authorized by the City Council, and whereas appropriations necessary to execute the purpose of this grant must be made upon the recommendation of the mayor and approval of 4/5 of the council of the City of Salisbury. Now therefore be it ordained by the City Council of the City of Salisbury that Mayor Jacob R. Day is authorized to enter into a grant agreement with the Community Health Resource Commission to accept grant funds in the amount of $24,799. Be it further ordained that the city's fiscal year 2021 grant fund budget be and hereby is amended as follows. Increase FY 21 MCHRC SWIFT revenue account by $24,799. Increase the FY 21 SFD equipment expense account by $17,624 and increase the FY21 SFD supplies operating / office expense account by $7,175. And be it further ordained that this ordinance shall take effect from and after the date of its final passage.
Thank you, Mr. Tillman. Questions or comments? Mr. Boda. I think we might have lost him again. I'll skip and come back. Ms. Jackson,
No questions or comments.
Ms. Blake,
None.
Mrs. Gregory,
None other than this is fantastic.
thank you. Mr. Boda, is he back on? I don't see him. Okay, I do have a couple of comments. One, Chief, I want to thank you and your staff for going after, I see you're on the call, for going after these funds. And specifically, I'd like to comment on the SWIFT team. You and your staff over the last couple of years have done a fantastic job. And as I said during the work session, this is one of the most successful programs, I believe, and has really had a direct impact on the citizens of Salisbury. And I want to thank you for that. Do you have any comments before we vote?
Not really. I would just like to say thank you for the kind words. The team that is managing that program, they're phenomenal people. They have the heart for what they're doing. It's a great example of collaboration between different agencies with the city, the fire department, and Peninsula Regional Medical Center. They're fabulous people, and I mean it's been a huge success for not only our department in reducing the number of 911 calls, but just the great impact that on the lives of so many people that didn't have anyone to turn to or have anyone to get them the help that they need, that they're getting that help now. So thank you for the kind words.
Thank you, Chief. I will now call the motion. All those in favor of ordinance number 2618 for the first reading, please signify by saying aye. Mr. Boda? We'll keep that vote open. Ms. Jackson?
Aye.
Ms. Blake?
Aye.
Mrs. Gregory?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. The vote is 4. Wait a minute, we might be getting him back. I see somebody there. Mr. Boda?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, we're voting them on the motion. Do you vote yay or nay?
Yay.
Thank you. The vote is now 5-0, and ordinance number 2618 for the first reading passes. That's all the items on the agenda for today. Mrs. Glanz, do we have anybody that has requested public comment on any of the items that we've spoken about tonight?
Not that I see in the chat, but folks can type in now or show yourself.
Thank you. We'll now open for council comments. Mr. Boda?
My apologies. Comcast is not cooperating tonight. I want to thank Chief Tall for working to get these grants. They're going to help us offset some of these costs, and we appreciate the hard work. As I say every week, make sure we continue to support our local businesses, our local restaurants, and tip your servers and drivers when they're delivering to you. Everybody have a great week.
Thank you, Mr. Boda. Ms. Jackson?
Oh God, what did I just do?
You're still with us.
I'm here. Remember, COVID is still around, so wear your mask properly. Social distance, 6 feet. Continue to sanitize your hands and use all other preventive measures. Stay safe, and remember, we are in this together, And also I'd like to thank the Census Count Committee. Census 2020, 10 minutes, 10 questions, 10 years. So I'd just like to thank the community and just like to thank everybody who is filling out the census applications. Continue to do so. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Jackson. Ms. Blake?
I have to say the Census 2020 committee does rock. Very impressed with all their work throughout all of this. And I know they've been out there hitting it hard. Just if you're healthy enough, please give blood. And just today, I had a lot of good news with helping an Eagle Scout. And there's a lot of businesses that have stepped up and to help this young man with some donations to get his project done. And it just reminds me how wonderful our community is. It's such a giving and caring community. And it nearly brought me to tears.
Thank you, Ms. Blake. Mrs. Gregory?
I just want to reiterate, please fill out your census. It can bring over $18,000 worth of funding for 10 years per person in your household. So please make sure you fill that out. That is so very important. And I just want to say thank you again to the folks at the emergency response and the folks at PRNC for taking such good care of my son. They're a fantastic team. The folks in Layfield Tower are amazing. They work so hard, and I'm just so thankful that we have such a wonderful team working here in Salisbury. But other than that, just keep wearing your mask. Please remember, COVID is still around. Just be safe and careful and take care of your neighbors.
Thank you, Mrs. Gregory. Ms. Glanz, closing comments?
Yeah, thank you, Council President Heath. I just wanted to jump on the census train. We had an event yesterday outside the United Way, and for about 3 hours, we had volunteers out there and doing a number of things: food giveaway, mask giveaway, awareness around lots of things. But we were able to have 34 families complete the census, which counted for 81 individuals. That's $1.5 million that's come into this community, which is incredible. Those folks wouldn't have taken it if they weren't out there for all of the other wraparound services that the vulnerable populations group is doing. So tremendous work. And then I did want to just give Caroline O'Hare a shout out to the National Folk Festival. If any of you tuned in this weekend, it was flawless.
Nice.
And she put that together all on her own, pretty much. She's got some really good skills with editing and things like that. So she'll be sleeping for this week. So if you need her, wait till next week.
Thank you, Ms. Glanz. Appreciate it. Yeah, I had the opportunity to watch many of the performances and some of the non-performances in terms of apprenticeships and those kinds of things. It was amazing. It was beyond what I thought would be possible. And Carolyn did a fantastic job in her team. The people took part in the positive comments, the commercial people, the people from the plaza. It was really enjoyable to watch. So thank you to everyone, and especially Carolyn. Again, if you're healthy, please give blood. We need it. And folks, we got to be careful about COVID. If we give an inch, we're going to see our numbers rise even more than they are. It's important. As Mrs. Gregory said, please wear your masks. And Ms. Jackson said, social distancing. It's all very, very important. So please take care of yourselves and each other. And with that, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone, for your participation.